Evasive maneuvers!
Oh, what is this I sense? Actual stakes? Ooh, I'm intrigued. Howdy all, I am Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and welcome, with honestly a lot of surprise, to my review of Picard, Season 3. We're starting with Episode 2, let me explain that for a moment. I'm just going to apologize flat out, not doing a review of Episode 1, because let's be honest, I'm a week behind. I wanted to wait for 2 episodes before I decided what I was going to do, and by now, everybody who is keying in on this, you already know what happened in Episode 1. So what I'm going to do here is I'll give a brief recap when we get started with the show in general, and then we're going to move right in. I'm going to be brutally honest right now. I'm kind of sold on this. Kind of sold. There's one moment in this episode I cheered. I was pumping my fists. I was going, ha ha ha. I was engaged. Pardon the pun. And I am as much as surprised as all of you. I'm going to say it right now. I do not watch Kurtzman Trek, because that is technically, as many have said, what this exists in. Kurtzman Trek. I don't watch it. Didn't watch Discovery. Don't watch first 2 seasons of this show. Don't watch anything else. I know of what happened because I've watched other people, but I don't watch it. And with the exception of one line in this, which makes you whinge, makes you cringe, this does feel like actual Star Trek. I know. Fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating that I can actually say that in 2023. There's something that resembles Star Trek on television, made by somebody who really gets it. Terry Matalas, he gets it. And I like Terry Matalas. 12 Monkeys, right there. I really like Terry Matalas. And he even managed to get a 12 Monkeys Easter egg crammed in here. We'll get to that. And I'm going to agree with stuff that's been said. This thing is one giant fan service on a platter. And I like it. Oh, I caught some stuff that I really did like, especially in the moment where I'm completely buying in. There's 2 moments where I buy in, and I'll explain that as we get to them. And it's going to surprise you, I think, that I'm feeling so positive about this. Some of you who have been with me for a while, if you're first finding my channel, you know that I take supreme pleasure in deconstructing the horrible bastardizations of all the franchises we love. Therefore, to actually praise something that exists within something we hate, Kurtzman Trek, it's a fine line, but I'm going to try and walk it, and I hope you decide to join me the rest of the way. Well, why don't we get started then? As I said, I am skipping a review of Episode 1. At this point, it's kind of unnecessary. I don't think it's necessary. All you need to know is this. If you are joining me for the first time and you haven't checked it out and not watched other people's reviews, quick recap. We are post the events of Picard Season 1 and Season 2. There are some elements from that happen. Certain characters introduced. One of them in the beginning, Laris, his Romulan housekeeper, wife, girlfriend, I don't really know. She's apparently going on some sort of security mission. He's going to go with her and just be nice and, him being Picard, be nice and relaxed. But then the story opened with one Dr. Beverly Crusher, played by Gates McFadden, who was always my favorite of the Star Trek gals in the Next Generation. Always had a thing for good old Gates. Like me, my redheads. She is under attack by guys who are essentially wearing Court of Owls masks and speaking a clicking language. She defends herself with brutal efficiency, mind you, protecting a young gentleman who we only hear in the beginning in the back room, shuts him off. She gets wounded, sends a distress call to Picard using old TNG terminology, this and that. He gets it. Goes to good old Will Riker, and we got to say I'm going to agree with everybody before me who's already said this. Jonathan Frakes It feels like we're Riker. Even at one point, he did the Riker stride, the Riker gait when they're leaving the bar, the 10-forward bar. He has the shoulders are squared, and he's got the Riker gait. You can tell he's feeling it. And they decide to use the cover of Frontier Day to borrow the USS Titan A to go over to where Beverly is in trouble. Meanwhile, Titan A is helmed by one Captain Shaw, who is a by-the-book guy played by the dude from 12 Monkeys who played Deacon. I like him. He's fun. And we've got good old 7 and 9. I guess this version of 7 or 9. I got to admit, I haven't watched all this, so it's a little abrasive for her. Her attitude's a little abrasive to me because I'm used to Voyager 7. And I don't have a problem with her being referred to as Annika Hansen. I always felt it was a storytelling mistake for her not to return to her old name the more she became less Borg and human and more human. I always felt returning to be called Annika was good. And there was even an episode in Voyager when she was in that virtual Borg space where she wanted to be called Annika and not Seven. So there's lore to say that she can be called Annika Hansen. It's not dead naming, you turds. You freaking freak SJW woke tards. It's not dead naming, idiots. Anyway, Seven is first officer, commander, full 3 pips commander of the Titan A. And in the end, she is basically forced to choose between her ship and Riker and Picard, and she chooses Riker and Picard to get them to where they need to be. They get to where they need to be eventually, and what happens is they get on the ship that Beverly was on, only to find her in a stasis chamber, mortally wounded. Well, critically wounded. Mortally critically, whatever. Take your pick. I think it's interchangeable here. And what happens is the young man who she was protecting gets a drop on them. He's called Jack, and we learn in the following episode he's officially Jack Crusher, among many other names. We'll get back to that. But then, right as they're Picard and Riker are trying to get some answers out of him, big-ass, evil-looking ship appears out of in front of the nebula where they are. And then we get into episode 2. So why don't we continue with Picard, Season 3, Episode 2, Disengage.
I'm going to need to speak to that Ferengi.
Repeat. Starfleet Command has terminated investigation. Disengage.
Disengage?
Terry Matalas has done something extremely wise in choosing how to structure his show here. He has chosen to give us a very simple, tried and true format. A plot, B plot, that eventually will come together in a single story. That's right, folks. He is not assaulting us with half a dozen different plots of scenes that last 1.5 to 2 minutes that could easily be cut out of a show and be meaningless and not add anything. He understands proper structure to a 40 to 50-minute episode of television. And I appreciate that. The B plot in this episode is a carryover from the B plot of the first episode. I saved it for here so that we can really get going. It involves Raffi from seasons 1 and season 2. Apparently, as I understand it, she was a renegade of sorts. She was helping out all the crap that went on in the first 2 seasons. And she was a junkie. She has bad issues with her family. She was gay with Seven for a little while last season. I know. Yeah, Seven gay. I know. We're just going to forget it and move on because that's what the show does. It forgets it and moves on. Her whole deal, though, is she's tracking theft of transporter portal tech from a Daystrom Institute station with the fear that it could be used as a terrorist attack, which it does at the end of the previous episode where a Starfleet recruiting center gets teleported up and then dropped on another section of the ceiling, killing upwards at the moment of 117 people. When we start this episode with Raffi, she's chafing at her constraints that her handler is restraining her from acting on her gut instinct to go after and finally do it, because we get the report that they're pinning it on some Romulan thug terrorist who is so low-key it doesn't make sense to her. He was sold out by a Ferengi gangster. I'm going to say this right here. There's something I appreciate so far in these 2 episodes, as opposed to, say, something like Disney Star Wars, where I'm seeing any number of familiar Star Trek aliens to make me feel like I'm in a Star Trek property. I've seen Andorians, I've seen Bajorans, I've seen Vulcans, I've seen Romulans, I've seen a Ferengi today. We saw a Ferengi. I know. Star Trek alien. Is it that hard to put the proper alien species we're used to in these franchises up front and center for us to see? No, it's not. Anyway, Raffi is being told by her handler to stand down unless you want to get yourself killed and be death number 118. She, of course, refuses to stand down. She needs to go find out what's going on. She needs to talk to Sneed. And in order to do that, she apparently hits up her ex-husband, who's an artist, who basically was also a druggie like her, but managed to break it for the faith and well-being of their son, who has rejected his mother. And we get a kind of, I guess you're supposed to get feels for Raffi here, if you're supposed to be engaged with her, which I'm not personally. I was totally unengaged with her storyline until the B plot wraps up in this episode. Then I'm engaged, and you're going to find out why in just a moment. It's supposed to make us feel that she's trying to make up for her past mistakes of being a druggie, but when presented with choosing her family or work, she still chooses work because she's. I kind of see where Metalis is going here, saying the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. She's weighing the needs of the many, the needs of citizens of the Federation over herself and what she needs. So I guess I appreciate that theme that they've worked into this episode. I appreciate that. Okay. But I still don't care about her. I don't at all, because I find her abrasive. I find her rather stupid. In the moment prior to the moment of awesome, she's behaving like an idiot with no backup and nothing, and her actions are dumb. Yeah, yes, one can say that when she uses her ex-husband to get a meet with the Ferengi Sneed. She uses her ex-husband for that. When she's in the meet, she's trying to pass herself off as working for the Romulan thug who supposedly perpetrated the terrorist attack. And the Ferengi doesn't believe her, rightfully so, because she's putting on a very bad act. She's coming in there. He knows exactly who she is, her husband's ex-wife, who is Starfleet. And he basically makes her take drugs to prove herself. You know, that old gag, take a hit to prove you're on the level, because if you're a cop, you're not going to take a hit. She takes the hit, and it's supposed to weaken her resolve so that she'll give up who she is. She doesn't quite, but he says, I know you're not telling the truth, because here's the head of the guy you say you're working for. He basically then orders his dudes to kill her. But then, before they can do anything, she stabs him in the hand. And then they're going to kill her anyway. Now, yes, she's high. Maybe she's not thinking clearly, but it still doesn't make sense. She went in there with zero plan. Raffi, at this point, in 2 episodes of dealing with her, I find her stupid. I do find her dumb. She makes poor decisions. She behaves badly. She doesn't think, doesn't have a plan. Now, apparently that's part of her personality, a paranoid, rabbit hole delving addict who will push everything aside because she'll get so focused on it, on her task, that she loses touch with reality. Still, I find this really dumb that she didn't do anything. And she gets bailed out. She gets saved. The Whammons get saved by a true hero. Yes, I did not expect this. What happens next, I didn't expect it, and I should have. I should have expected this, because there was a key word used in episode 1 when she was conferring with her handler, and he was just words on a screen. He says to her, "You're a warrior."
I told you, do not engage.
Yes! 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 Worf! Oh! Yes! I'm in. I am so in after that. That is proper Worf. That is proper Worf. Michael Dorn. Yes. Yes. Oh, I love it. That is bad freaking ass. And you got real Klingon theme played over when the reveal. It's yes. If you're not in at this point, then you're just being a belligerent black pill. I'm sorry. This is not going to save anything, but Terry Matalas is trying here, dude. He just had Worf save a character who, from my understanding, Raffi, has been in insufferable whammons for 2 seasons. And here she is, stupid, dumb, making bad decisions, and what has to happen? She has to be saved by a true warrior. That should have been the tell in episode 1. I should have seen that. But you know what? I was just kind of watching. I wasn't thinking. Warrior. Missy, you're a warrior. It's going to be Worf. I should have known it was going to be Worf, but there it is. Worf arrives in classic, perfect Worf fashion. Kicking ass, taking names, no F's given. I love it. And Terry Matalas, Easter egg, if you missed it, it's okay. I didn't, though. Check this out right there. You notice on his sash? That's the House of Martok emblem. Yes! Call back to DS9 when Martok, then General, now Chancellor Martok, adopted Worf into his house because Worf had no house anymore. The House of Moog was done, over. He lost his brother again to the events of having him being forced to have his mind wiped and turned into a different Klingon. Worf was homeless, and Martok, because of everything Worf had done for him, took him into his house, made him his son. House of Martok emblem where it should be, because Worf is part of the House of Martok. Yes! Thank you, Terry Matalas. I saw that, and I very much appreciate that little bit of fan service, that little bit of accuracy for Star Trek lore. Thank you. Well, Worf saves Raffi, and that's the end of the B plot. Frankly, great way to end the B plot. Worf! All right, let's go on to the A plot, which is the meat of the episode, where we get to really learn about Jack Crusher. I know, a lot of people called it, but guess what? It's okay. They weren't really working that hard to hide Jack Crusher from us, were they?
I give half to one warlord, half to another, cut you in for, say, 25?
35.
30% of the take. And pew, pew, pew. It's bad guys shooting bad guys, and we've helped refugees by curing a pandemic. Oh, mon ami. We're basically saints.
The episode itself opens with Jack Crusher and Plot A. And it does a really good, in my opinion, introduction to the character, the overall archetype that is Jack Crusher. Dashing rogue with a heart of gold, as I'm going to call him. I like him so far. As the episode continues, you can see he believes in the things that clearly his mother, Beverly, has raised him to believe. He believes in standing up for the little guy under what he deems warlords and bureaucracies that don't care about innocent lives, that just care about their grandiose schemes and their profits and their desires. Jack Crusher, I like the existence of Jack Crusher. I'm going to go into that at the very end of the review, why I appreciate his existence and why I think Terry Matalas is, again, on the right level of loving Star Trek and dealing with a particular storyline or a particular plot point that I always felt, that always bothered me as a Star Trek fan. But we'll get into that at the appropriate moment. It's basically concerning the worst kept secret since the first episode premiered last week. The worst kept secret concerning Jack Crusher and his parentage. Either way, this intro begins with Jack trying to basically bribe and barter his way into a quarantine zone to help sick people who are literally dying every minute, according to his statistics he quotes. He encounters the usual corrupt security force that that pretends to do their job but will be very easily bribed. And after a great exchange of him clearly showing he knows how to play the smuggling game ropes, he doesn't realize he's fallen into a trap. His own smugness, his own belief, his own self-importance that he's just so damn good has gotten him trapped. And there, in a couple of moments, in one starting scene, we're given a character who has good traits as the dashing rogue with a heart of gold, but he's got an ego. He thinks he's just that damn good, and in that moment, that's a failing. So how do you like that? We get a brand new character who's going to have to stand on this main stage with real Star Trek TNG classic characters. He's going to have to, he is on the stage with Picard and Riker and Seven is Voyager and this kind of stuff. But either way, real Star Trek characters. He's going to be there. And you know what? He's going to stand there just fine because Ed Spielers also does a great job. I happen to like Ed Spielers. See him on a lot of stuff over the years. I enjoy him. Good actor. And he nails it. He nails it. Has no fear in terms of acting in the presence of these veteran Star Trek characters and actors, or just jumping right into the universe. And he's given good material to work with because, like I said, we're given a character right away who has a lot of good qualities in terms of your dashing rogue with a heart of gold. I'm going to keep saying that. But he fails. Right away, he fails. Because the dudes he's dealing with are working, or at least in touch with, the marked woman. Who is the marked woman? We're going to find out very soon. Because we go back to the present. This was 2 weeks ago, this opening prologue. And we're back in the present, where Picard and Riker are trapped on their little ship with the Shrike, the big nasty that appeared at the end of last episode, looming over them, wondering, why aren't we blown out of the sky? That's the big question right away. Why are they not blown out of the sky? This is a massive warship. That's a tiny little medical ship. No power. It's been beat to hell. The nebula, as is stated, has fried their circuits. Beverly's stasis pod is crashing. She's dying. Picard and Riker, let's be honest, they're out of their depth here. They overplayed their hand. Riker is a captain without a chair. Picard, he's a retired admiral who at the moment has no oomph. And that's and it's not a criticism, it's part of the storytelling here. Again, Terry Matalas is telling an actual structured story. Picard has no motivation at this point. Motivation to save Beverly, but he's not the Jean-Luc that we know from the past isn't here yet. Hasn't been here for 2 seasons as far as I understand. But I think by the end of the episode, he is here. And that's the other moment where I'm kind of sold on this. But again, we'll get to it end of the episode. They're basically trying to figure out, what do we do? Picard, of course, you get a hint of the class of Picard. Why don't we get an open dialogue, negotiate the diplomat captain? One of the things I loved about Jean-Luc Picard, the diplomat. Could be the warrior, could be the statesman. Doesn't matter. He knows how to work both sides of the table. Of course, Jack says, no. These people have been chasing us all over the place, pretending to be this and that. We're done. We got no options. We're stuck here. And unless we can get on your shuttle with my mother to safety, we're done. And do you have any help? And they have to admit, no, Titan might. They think the Titan's gone. They don't know the Titan is still just outside the nebula. They don't know what to do. And that's where it's both a criticism that I had going into the episode as I was thinking, okay, our heroes seem to be working really fast and loose. These are 2 calculating men, Picard and Riker, who are very good in dangerous situations and crisis situations, coming up with plans. And here, they really didn't go far enough in backup plans and this and that. And they're caught. They're caught in a trap because what are they going to do against this giant ass thing in a crippled ship? To which Jack accuses them. I was fine until you guys showed up, which, of course, again, I like that we're seeing some flaws in Jack's character. No, you weren't fine. Your ego is telling you are. No, you're not fine. You're in trouble. And these guys are here to help. But they are in trouble because they didn't come with more of a plan than a shuttle and get her out of there. But the Titan is still there. The Titan is still there. And now we get some interesting, again, we get more into Shaw. Last episode, again, we didn't really cover it on this channel. There are other reviews you can watch. Shaw is a by-the-books guy. He likes his rules. He doesn't like the history, so far that we can tell, of Picard and Riker flaunting the rules for personal, not gain, but personal agendas that are sometimes outside the regimented system of Starfleet Command. He doesn't like it when you shoot from the hip. He likes his order. There's a great line in the previous episode. Again, little shout outs. Terry Matalas knows the Star Trek. If you run your finger across my starship, you won't find any dust. Calling back to Wrath of Khan when Kirk's inspecting the Enterprise. It's still it's not lettered yet. The original Enterprise, the refitted Enterprise in Wrath of Khan, and he's got the glove and he's going for dust. I mean, good callback there. But he likes his rules. He likes his structure. And you get that he doesn't like things messed up. And you get the feeling there's something else going on here with his dislike for Picard and Riker. And you get it right here with this clip. Again, we get a good shot of his personality. And again, I like character development. We're getting character development. I know, this is incredible, isn't it? We're 2023 and we're getting character development in a Star Trek show.
We are an exploratory vessel. If that ship decides to engage us, we are outgunned, and I am not going to risk 500 souls for two relics who think that a couple of brass medals make them golden boys.
I really like that statement because, again, it shows Matalas in his writer's room get it, of that the Titan is a neo-constitution class. It's not a sovereign class, which is what the Enterprise E was. It's not a defiant class. Ships that were built for more war effort. They were built to fight threats. It's an exploratory ship. Yes, it can hold its own in regular fights, but it's not a wartime vessel. And I really appreciate that Captain Shaw makes that kind of statement. We can't win against that thing that we're sensing in the nebula that's on top of Picard's ship. We can't win this. And it is my job as captain to take into account the safety of the 500 souls aboard my ship. And that tells you difference in size. 500 crew as opposed to a Galaxy class, which was what the Enterprise D was, which had over 1,000 crew members and denizens. Because remember, the Galaxy class wasn't exactly a warship either, but it packed a punch. But it had civilians on it a lot at the time, as opposed to like the Sovereign class, which had, I think, just under 1,000. I don't know. I have to go look it up again. Either way, you understand what I'm saying. I like this. This is a stark contrast to our usual captains or that we're getting. When you got a Kirk, the warrior, the man on the edge of the man on the edge. I'm not on the edge. You know what I mean? A man always willing to risk it to get the job done. Who doesn't know the meaning of the word give up. Who doesn't like to lose. You got Picard, the diplomat, the statesman, the sometimes warrior, who has no problem bending the rules to do the right and moral thing. Or let's say a Captain Sisko, the pure warrior captain, who's brought in to control, fix the situation, get a job done. Or Janeway, another exploratory captain, but has no problem getting her hands dirty in order to get a situation solved. No, those are all rule breakers to an extent. I mean, one of the most famous DS9 episodes, season 6, the whole, I believe it was season 6, where they fake the evidence to get the Romulans to join the Dominion War. And at the end, Sisko says, I would do it again. Shaw is a stark contrast to our traditional captain's table. And you know what? I'm okay with it. Because we need contrasting characters here. And what's going on in this scene, in the next collection of scenes, as we jump back and forth between the Titan and Jack's ship. I don't remember its name at the moment. As we jump back and forth, on the Titan, you have Seven trying to argue to save Picard and Riker because they're Picard and Riker, and Shaw saying, no, it's not our job. They got themselves into this mess. They're outside Federation space. We don't have to do this. And you, Commander Hansen, have just screwed your career by breaking all the rules. I'm going to take you down because that's not how we do things. And it's a nice little thing of characters who are trying to stick to their beliefs, the core system. And again, it's characters, and I'm engaged in these characters. Meanwhile, back on the little ship, while they're trying to figure out what to do, Riker's busy trying to get out a plan. You see Picard walking around putting things up. Jack's ego is again getting bigger and ahead of him. He's trying to sort of take command of the situation, but he can't really in the presence of these two veterans, and because Riker keeps calling him kid. And he's trying to question what's going on while trying to sound authoritative. And Picard's he goes, "Whoa, do you have any ideas, Admiral?" And Picard goes, "Not at the moment, but I am taking precautions, don't worry." And he's trying to go, "What? From what?" And as he says that, the Shrike starts to try and teleport him away, transport him out. And Picard goes, "That's why." Boop. Transporter inhibitors. Thinking. I like that. That's Picard, common situation, doesn't have a lot of tools at his disposal, but you see he's still, the wheels are turning, and Riker's doing his thing, trying to strategize an attack plan because they realize now that the transporter has failed, they're going to send in another hit team. And they do, and what does Riker do? Throws a shock grenade, something, just vaporizes them in the cargo hold. Because what they've done is the Shrike has blasted the transporter, the shuttle away. They got nowhere to go. They're done. They're stuck. Everything's falling apart. They don't know what to do. And they're out of options. And I'm thinking, okay, the Titan's going to have to save them. It's just a question of how's it going to happen. And then we get more interaction between Seven and Shaw of basically Seven trying to appeal to his masculinity. Saying, don't you want to be the hero that saves two legends? And I guess somehow she managed to crack it. And I guess we're going to get more story as to how that worked. Because he was pretty adamant in not budging on this. Because we get a very cool moment here when all is said and done. And Picard, Riker, and Jack are completely out of options. Beverly's dying. The ship's falling apart. The Shrike has them in a tractor beam. And then this is cool. I dig this because I dig moments like this. Again, this feels like First Contact when the Enterprise saves the Defiant in the battle against the Borg cube at the beginning of the movie.
Total power failure imminent.
Wow. It was nice meeting you.
I've got movement on the sensors. What the hell is that?
Ooh, I like that. I like hero moments. I'm not ashamed to say it. It may be cliched, but I like it when a hero swoops in to save somebody. And I like it in Star Trek when a hero ship swoops in to save somebody. Usually it's the Enterprise, but in this case, the Titan is our hero ship of the moment, and I like what happens. And I have a feeling we're going to be on the Titan for the rest of the show. It's just the feeling I have. We're not going to get an Enterprise F. The E's probably been decommissioned at this point. We're not getting an Enterprise. I doubt we're going to get Enterprise F. And if we did, that's a whole nother crew we'd have to get introduced to. We're probably on the Titan for the get-go here. We're on the Titan, at least for the first half of the series, until our various parts come together. Because we still have to get together with Worf. We still have to get to Geordi, all that kind of stuff. But I like it when this happens. I'm down. I'm digging it. They're continuing to earn my interest and attention as we go forward here. Everybody gets transported off the now destroyed or the abandoned ship. Beverly gets sent right to sickbay. Picard and Jack and Riker get brought to the bridge, and you got a great moment. After Shaw, again, I like Shaw in this moment right here. Should we get out of here? No, we're engaged. I want to find out who these people are. Now I'm curious. What's going on here? I like that. I like it. I'm into it. But as they come on the bridge, he looks at him and says, "Oh, you boys are in so much trouble." His delivery is awesome. But now we're going to get the reveal of our villain of the moment.
On screen.
Good afternoon. I believe it is afternoon in Sol System. I am Captain Vadik.
Captain Vadik. I am not ready to say she's our big bad of the show. She may be working for the big bad of the show. She may be the muscle for the big bad of the show. But as far as opening antagonist, I'm digging it. I'm getting not completely crazy, but not all their vibes from her. She's already playing. She starts playing mind games with our crew of the. We're just call it the crew of the Titan. The crew of the Titan right away. She immediately, as the immediate line after that is she starts taunting Shaw, saying, after he says, "Oh, how are you, Captain Liam Shaw? How are you?" He says, "Oh, I was having a great morning until you showed up." And she goes, "Oh, that's so nice, considering your psychological profile. I'm so glad you're stable." Seven gives him a look. So there's more to Shaw, but she knows it. This is somebody who knows her enemy. She knows her foe is, and they don't know who she is at all. And that's frightening. That's frightening because it's the unknown. We've been dealing with knowns for a long time in terms of Star Trek villains or villain organizations. Here we are with an unknown, and again, I'm digging it. She gives that creepy vibe that she is ready to just cause unmentionable harm, especially when she says, "Listen, why don't you take a look at my ship armament? I'm going to lower my shields." That shows you how little F's she gives about the Titan's armament. I'm going to lower my shields so you can get a look at what I'm packing. This big list. But after she's done taunting Shaw, after Picard steps in, tries to get a diplomatic hold of the situation for negotiation, she says, Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Here and this is where you cringe and you whinge, because this is the unfortunate reminder, again, that we are in Kurtzman Trek. In the synthetic flesh. I know. For those of you who don't know, this is an android Picard with the memory and soul of our Jean-Luc Picard, mapped onto a positronic brain. Now I'm just going to question this. I know last season dealt with Q. May have been a dying Q, but still a Q. Still Q. They could have retconned this very easily, saying that when Q snapped everything back to the present, could have snapped Picard back into a flesh and bone body. Flesh and blood body. Either way, same thing. Could have had him be human again. Why do this? Still, why perpetuate this? Maybe they had to. I don't know. All I know is that I'm going to memory hole that immediately and wish to believe that Q snapped Picard back to a human. I'm gonna pretend. I know I don't promote headcanon that often, but I'm going to here. But she taunts Picard. That means she knows Picard. She knows Shaw. She probably, of course, she's going to know Riker. She probably knows Seven. She probably knows everything going on here. She holds all the chips. Bigger ship. More knowledge. And she's going to use all that because she's there for Jack. She officially says he is an intergalactic criminal and we're bounty hunters. And we want him. Of course, Shaw gives the right response. We don't negotiate with bounty hunters. We don't deal with terrorists. She goes, "Oh, that's too bad because I can destroy you." I showed you the opening prologue clip, our opening Gambit clip, to show them that she is in complete control of this with the balance of terror. She can do whatever she wants. Excuse me. She tractor beams the abandoned ship and hurls it at them. Shaw tries to, shields up, evasive maneuvers, and I haven't mentioned before, Geordi's daughter is the helmsman. That's cool. She's bubbly. She's nice. No problem with her. She tries to get out of there, but it doesn't matter. Ship crash. It tears off the upper hull of the Titan. No, not serious damage, but it's not good. And they're all going, "How did that happen? That was impossible." And LaForge Jr. there basically says, "My father said to me that for every law of physics can be undone by another law of physics. Okay, fine, good enough. I'm okay with that. Moving on. Again, we get a really, in this opening moment, we get a look at Vadek, who is just sitting in her chair, smoking a cigarette, taunting them, describes her ship. It is the Shrike. I am a carrion bird. I'm not aggressive. I only act with precision. I'm going to take you apart piece by piece, like the piece of dead meat that you are to me, until you give me what I want. I want Jack Crusher. She says she wants him for a bounty. I personally don't believe that at this point, but we'll see as the story evolves. And now we are left with the dilemma of Plot A. The remainder dilemma of Plot A: what do we do with Jack Crusher? What happens? Well, this is some good stuff here. First of all, they Shaw says, throw him in the brig after we get some great information on Jack. That Jack is a con man, he's a thief, is that. And here's where, again, Terry Metalis throws in a nice, he manages to work in a 12 Monkeys Easter egg to a Star Trek show, because he did 12 Monkeys. And of course, the guy playing Shaw was in 12 Monkeys, played Deacon. And when to get him to say James Cole, one of Jack's aliases, James Cole, the main character of 12 Monkeys, James Cole. I like it. I appreciate it. Made me smile. I dig it. And to have who was once Deacon say, as Shaw say, James Cole, it's like, yes, I like it. Thank you. Okay. Now, problem is, he's considering turning it over because, again, Shaw's job is to protect his crew. Picard wants to try and work out a deal, wants to find out why Jack is important. Picard then goes to talk to Jack, and here's again we get that great character examination of Jack in this short amount of time we've known him, and we get a great line like this:
Currency is currency, and medicine isn't free. The people who dislike me are gamblers, low-level gangsters, the fathers of daughters everywhere, not vigilante bounty hunters willing to pick a fight with the Federation.
In this sequence of scenes leading up to this moment, we are now trying to figure out why Vadek wants Jack, and Jack has no idea. And I really like that line right there where he's basically describing who he's pissed off in the galaxy. Bunch of low-level people, nobody important, and fathers. I really like that, fathers of daughters, because he's a ladies' man. Yeah. Either way, we're dancing around all these. What we're dancing around here now is, who is his father? And why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to your mother? And it's a great little real first one-on-one between Picard and Jack, where Picard is trying to say, look at you, you're a thief, you're a con man. Beverly wouldn't allow this. And Jack's saying, no, Beverly trained me to do this. She's been gone for 20 years. None of you know her anymore. You haven't seen her in a long time. How dare you try and say what she can do and what I can do? And Picard says, who's your father? Jack goes, I don't want to talk about this. Get out of here. We're done. What's going on here is now there's, as I said, the push and pull of what to do with Jack, because they've got an hour before the Shrike rips them to pieces and takes Jack forcefully. Shaw is leaning towards giving it up because he doesn't trust Jack. Picard and Riker are saying, no, he may be a criminal, but he deserves to be taken to trial in Federation space and not just given over to a death sentence. Picard says, that ship's not a trial, it's a guillotine. It's a death sentence. And it's a nice contrast of trying to follow the rules and trying to do the right thing. It's this moral dilemma. And this is what Star Trek is supposed to do. It's supposed to give you moral dilemmas to think about. The characters are thinking about it in your place, and you have contrasting opinions. And usually the captain is the arbiter of all this. But in this case, Picard's not our captain this time. He's the admiral, but he's not in charge anymore. And that's the thing you're wondering. And this is what I'm wondering this whole time. We've got our crew here, and they're just sitting and waiting to decide what to do with this guy. Instead of what the TNG crew would have done, scrambled to find a way to beat a bigger, more powerful foe. And I'm asking this question the whole time. And I think I sort of get my answer at the end. But until then, we're pushing back and forth. And while they're deliberating, Jack says, okay, I'm getting out here myself. So clearly, Titan security isn't very good, because they didn't search him. He's got a little device on him that allows him to, once he knows the, for lack of a term, the power output of the cell shield, he brings it down, escapes, and right as they're almost with 15 minutes to go, deciding what to do, we learn that Jack has escaped. And Shaw shuts down the shuttle bay, sends security teams everywhere. Seven's basically leading the search, shut down all transporters. When, of course, meanwhile, Shaw's saying we can't trust him. Shaw's leaning towards giving him over. We cannot trust him. We can't even take the word that he's actually Beverly's son because she's unconscious, which cues Riker to go do a balls to the wall thing. I'm going to sickbay, wake Beverly up. Riker goes to sickbay, and despite the doctor on duty saying, wait, what are you doing? She's stable, but she can't wake up now. Riker says, screw that, grabs a stim, wakes her up. Ha ha, Riker! Riker wakes her up. Meanwhile, Seven tracks Jack to a transporter room. Sorry, not shuttle bay, transporter room. I'm moving very quickly mentally here. To a transporter room, he's saying, turn it on. Jack is now clearly trying to give himself up to save his mother and save the ship. That speaks to Jack's character. That's the character of his mother and of what we're going to now learn, his father. The worst kept secret in this show for the past 2 weeks. Because half the episode has been Riker saying, are you not seeing this to Jean-Luc? Are you not seeing this? Who he behaves like, who he sounds like, who he acts like. Because now, with the time limit up and Jack willing to give himself over, Vadic opens up the channel, gives her little Shrike speech that I mentioned before, and they're about to do it when then here comes Riker and Beverly onto the bridge. And Gates McFadden doesn't say a word, emoting the hell out of everything, just emoting for all she's worth, of a mother who wants to protect her son. And Jean-Luc locking eyes with her for the first time in the fuzzy math years of how long they haven't seen each other. And just no words are needed. A lot of good show don't tell. And Picard closes his eyes like, oh, he's my son. He is my son. Picard has been trying not to admit that the whole episode to himself. It's his son. And Beverly, just don't let him die, Jean-Luc. The look is don't let him give himself up. We have to save him. And now, for the first time, I think in a long time, Jean-Luc Picard returns to us.
Belay that. Admiral's orders. Lock it down. Shuttles. Transporters. The boy stays here.
Admiral taking over. Basically, the Admiral is now taking over. Admiral Picard is now in control. And for a moment there, I feel like Picard's in the room. And this is where the show has me. You had me at Worf, and now you have me in this moment where Picard says, no, we're not doing this. And Shaw says, why the hell not? Because he's my son. And when he says that, Shaw just goes, oh, hell, all right, fine, we're doing this. We're going to do this. We're in it. And they're in it. But Picard is taking control. And what do? They fire off some photon torpedoes, and boom, they head into the nebula. And Vadic cackles gleefully. She wants the hunt, apparently. She chases him in, and right here, right there you get it. Let's just watch this clip, and we're gonna bring this home for the episode now.
They're looking for a fight.
They'll have to find us first.
Sauce for the goose, Mr. Savick. I am ready for a little cat and mouse in the nebula. Hey, if the wheel ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I think Terry Matalas has rediscovered. Let's use what worked in the past. Let's make people happy. Let's have a good time giving people some real Star Trek. If we have to copy and paste with a little bit of a fresh varnish on it, then so be it. Let's do Wrath of Khan all over again in this moment and have some fun. That being said, I want to address two more things as we close out here. One, I feel as though Terry Matalas is definitely on my wavelength as a Star Trek fan. He is dealing with what I feel have been two massive injustices done to Jean-Luc Picard, both in the series and in the movies, namely Generations. First, in the series, we always wanted Picard and Beverly to get together. We wanted it. They teased it for way too damn long, and then they barely gave it to us, and then they didn't. Never got it. Didn't carry over to the movies. Happened in some books, but Star Trek books are notoriously not canon. Here we go, though. They gave us that they happened. It didn't work, but fine. But more importantly, they're undoing the injustice. Metalis in his writer's room. They're undoing the injustice of taking away Picard's family, ending his family with him. It always irked me in the regular series and then in Generations that he didn't have any offspring, and then his line ended because of the stupidity of killing his family in a fire. His brother, and his nephew. I never wanted that. I wanted Picard to go on. But now he's going to go on. He has a son, Jack Picard. Maybe Jacques Picard. I don't know. Jack is his son. The Picard bloodline will continue because Jack is a lover of ladies. At the same time, I feel as though it's also we're sorry for what happened in the previous seasons where they turned him into an android. We're sorry. But look, the Picard bloodline goes on. That's what I feel he's doing with this. And I like it. I'm okay with it. But that's not to say everything is roses and unicorn farts here. There are still problems with all of this. Whenever Kurtzman Trek leaks in, it's bad. Raffi, as I said earlier, is massively annoying. Her arc is only saved because Worf is now introduced. That's it. At the same time, while the writing is decent, there are some dialogue problems. For a Ferengi to say "God damned," sometimes and cussing in Star Trek, no, cussing worked in Star Trek once in Star Trek IV: Voyage Home because they were back in the present day and they had to use colorful metaphors. Cussing doesn't work in Star Trek. I don't like hearing. At least they're not dropping F-bombs, which I heard they did in the previous seasons. At least they're not doing that. But still, I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear that in Star Trek. I just don't. Some of the apparently the math doesn't line up in some ways as well, but otherwise, this is a good faith effort, and I feel it. They're boldly trying to make some real Star Trek for us, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate this as we're trying to give you one last taste of the next generation, which should have been done 20 years ago or 15 years ago. They should have given us a real TNG exit 15 years ago when everybody was still a little bit younger. And Patrick Stewart still had a voice. It wasn't old man. But I appreciate the attempt that Terry Matalas is doing, and I am enthused and engaged to continue forward. So I will be back next week with episode 3. Same time, well, not same time. It takes what it takes to make this, but we'll be right back here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. Check out the rest of the channel if you're new here. And I hope to earn your trust and support going forward. Until then, guys, take it easy and have a good day or night wherever you may be. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to reach out to me, please email me at theranernerd@gmail.com for all channel business purposes. I am on Twitter now, mostly for promotion and sharing of videos, maybe a little shit stirring here and there, who knows, @theranernerd. You can also find me at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS, and you can see me on Rumble and Odyssey under the Renaissance Nerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.